I'm Dan.
I'm Seb.
And we've known each other since uni, and we thought we would make some music after we went for a drink in a pub.
That's pretty much how it happened. We decided on the name Tarbuck Skelly because it seemed to fit.
Yeah,
and we've got these 6 tracks that we've put together in an EP called Don't Wanna Wake. I don't wanna wake. Sound-wise, I think it's quite hard to sort of pin down what the sound is. There's a lot of influences going on, quite eclectic influences between the two of us. But there's definitely lots of elements of sort of pop music in there, lots of bits of sort of more film score kind of writing, a bit more of the classical influence, a bit of jazz influence, a bit of soul.
Electronic kind of.
Yeah, electronic elements. Production, quite heavy production in some of the tunes. It's all very, a big old melting pot of everything that we listen to, condensed into 6 songs.
Yeah. So it's kind of we sort of started it off as a let's do something we can play live and record in the studio, but also kind of mix that with production elements which aren't necessarily physically possible to play, and see if that creates something interesting. And I think your brass knowledge and skill combined with my kind of more synth-based stuff kind of creates an interesting sound. Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So the first song, fittingly, is called Get Up. It's pretty nuts, I think. It's probably the biggest.
It's the densest of the tunes. There's a lot going on. It's quite an adventure.
It's
it sort of vaguely tells the story of somebody's life from their perspective, with a sort of repeated thing, kind of. It's a bit of a silly song, but there could be some deeper meaning in it for you if you listen close enough. It's quite a wild ride. Lots of colourful textures and lots going on.
It's basically us just being like, well, if we can do that, why don't we add this as well? Like, more is more. Turns out it also makes it harder to mix and tame when it comes to that point. But it was so you go through these different stages of your life, and all of a sudden your life runs away with you, and you find yourself in a position where you have to. Yeah, that's it really. Yeah.
Then we sort of head to arguably the most sort of poppy track, go from the chaos of Get Up to a sort of much more simple arrangement called Airport Liqueurs, which is along a similar sort of lines of a sort of dreamscape kind of feel, but more. Well, I mean, the lyrics are mostly coming from your end on this one.
So Airport Liqueurs was inspired by that feeling you get when you just started seeing someone, and it's all quite exciting and unknown, and you're like, oh, it's all good. I don't want to wake from this, or I don't, I guess that could be thrown. I don't want to be too specific of what it could mean, but
you don't want to leave the excitement of the newness of everything. So it's quite upbeat, it's quite sort of positive, but then has this outro section that gets a bit more intense, a bit chaotic, and kind of that nervous energy of not wanting to.
If you listen closely as well, in the backing vocals in the outro, there's a bit, it goes from can't believe it to never leave me. So there's this sort of slight uncertainty underneath of what's something not quite right. There's a seed of something here. But it's just a fun song.
Yeah. Don't Tell Anyone is a bit more of a slightly less upbeat, a bit more, but introspective, instead of dealing with the sort of ecstatic side of life and relationships and stuff. Is kind of focusing a bit more on the sort of anxious kind of sides, but sort of an inner monologue essentially. Again, it's fairly simple arrangement, also one of the more poppy tracks on the thing, but still quite interesting. It's got a little flugelhorn solo from myself.
And it's also got in the flugelhorn solo, there is a chopped up biscuit advert, which we accidentally picked up on one of the cables when we were recording. So that features. It's
no idea what radio station was on at the time. It just came through the airwaves.
Somewhere in between, I think. Yeah. Fool.
The original, the first track that was begun during the project, and it's therefore possibly the strangest. There's the slightly odd, quite a mismatch of of things, because we were just testing the waters at that point in terms of writing. So yeah, again, another quite dark sounding track, again dealing with the slightly more nervous side of things.
It's quite vague. It's a bit weird, like you said. It was just kind of trying to find what kind of music we wanted to make, and it's got these weird different sections, and it kind of took a little while to pull it together. But when we got there, when the chorus happened, when we first got that, we were like, oh yeah, finally cracked it. But yeah, it's all about like basically just like, you know, when people let you down in whatever circumstance you might be in.
Feeling slightly insufficient.
Yeah.
Just, a bit of a...
Being made a fool of.
Yes.
Right, so number 5 is What's Your Name? It's a cheeky number. It's a bit more like laid back. Well, it begins that way. Yeah, that's quite fun. It's kind of brash and bold and confident, and a kind of polar opposite to Don't Tell Anyone, which is fun.
Yeah. There's definitely two sides of the coin on this EP, and sort of 3 and 3. This What's Your Name is the other kind of upbeat, quite kind of groovy, because I feel like it's kind of the coolest track on the EP. The kind of normally you're playing it kind of cool, and then it's got a lot of horns in it, a lot of excitement, and then a big exciting section at the end, which you will find out if you are listening to it.
Yeah, the horn riff on that was Seb already had that prior to the track. That was kind of the seed of the track, and then from there we took it in a place, and then the last we took it in a place or to a place, and then that last section originally was just like a joke. We were like, oh, this will be fun, and then we decided to keep it because we liked it so much.
Yeah. So the final track, aptly named, is called Close the Chapter. It's a little piano idea Dan had with a little nice melody over it. Very, very subdued, again, quite introspective, but in a more kind of, it kind of has a bit more of a positive feel to it, a bit more of a heartwarming feel. It's in 3 sections. You've got the first section is very melodic and piano based, and then I jump in, take it on a bit of a brass journey, and then it ends with this big epic section, including a church organ, which we had the pleasure of recording.
That was great fun. Yeah. So that one's kind of about loss in whichever form that could be, whether it's someone you may have lost personally, relationships or otherwise, and it kind of encompasses all of that. There's a reference to a particular cosmic event which occurred on a specific day in 2015, and it's kind of got that uplifting ending, and it did feel like that is the end of the journey is complete by that point.
Rounds it off very nicely.
So it also features some birds from near where I live.